Welcome to the Dad, Coffee, and Kids podcast, where caffeine-powered dads look to level up as fathers. We talk about life as a young dad while managing work, family, and finances. That said, grab another cup, and I'll see you on the other side. Alright guys, today we're going to cover a topic that can be rather frustrating, stressful. There's many other words you can fill in here, but it's something that those of us who do it tend to typically not like it all that much. And what I'm talking about is the daycare drop-off. So the daycare drop-off routine, for some, it appears, because I do it every day, so I see other families, it appears a breeze. For others, it's the thing we dread first thing when waking up. It can be miserable at times. And I'm going to share a little bit what's worked for us, the issues we've encountered, how it's gotten better, and kind of the trade-off at the end of the day with said daycare drop-offs. But just first a little background. So my oldest son, who's 3.5, he's been going to daycare really since he was an infant. And it's always been a little tough with periods where he's gotten much better. We've gotten much better as a family, and we've had really smooth days and we've had very, very rough days. And part of what I believe the problem is he's never really had the opportunity to get into a clear-cut, flowing routine, right? There's always been some sort of interruption in his daycare routine, whether that be when we went on leave. I went on paternity leave. My wife was on maternity leave when we had our second son. So we took him out of daycare. He was home with us, and the way we feel super blessed we were able to do this, but the way we were able to space our leaves out, he got to stay home for a long period of time. He was out of daycare for a while, home with us. Would it have been easier to keep him in daycare? Probably. But it was obviously awesome having him home as well with his new little baby brother. And also, we got to save a lot of money. I think that's a podcast episode in itself, talking about daycare finances, which are astronomical. So we'll save that for another day. But yeah, so he had periods of time where he was out of daycare. Then he would go back, right? And then he'd start to get back into a routine. And then just when things maybe started to get good again, we take him back out for another 2-3 weeks to upwards of a month. And that could be anywhere from maybe we took a 2-week vacation, and then the next 2 weeks at school happened to be some holidays, or just the daycare he goes to had a day off for whatever reason. And then at that point, whether he was only going 2 or 3 days a week or full time, he was missing so much time it didn't make sense to pay for that month. So we would just take him out for, again, 2 weeks upwards of a month, once again messing up his routine. So while that's not ideal, we did what was best for our family, and we kind of had to start the clock over again, if you will, right? With learning and getting comfortable with going to daycare again. So when he was an infant, even though he cried a lot when we dropped him off, I think it's a little easier. A lot of parents get torn because they see their kids miserable and stuff, and you read online, it's best to kind of just like leave when they're babies and they're not able to walk yet. You kind of just like maybe give them a hug, bring them in there, give them to the teacher, put them down where the other kids are sitting, and unfortunately you just leave, right? They'll probably cry, but it's also best for them, because the more you kind of linger around and keep going back, oh, it's okay, and try to make them, try to soothe them, it could possibly make the situation worse. So again, it's a little easier when the child is not able to walk yet. But as they get older, it gets a little more difficult. So I'll use an experience right up until today. So my toddler, when I dropped him off, we're just starting to get to that point again, where he's just about really good and comfortable. Yesterday, I opened the door, I gave him a hug in the hallway, opened the door, he walked right in over to his teacher, which was awesome. It's been a long time since he's gone ahead and done that. But and this is also off the back of we just took him out for I think it was 3 weeks, because we had done a vacation, and then by the time we got back and he had another day off of daycare that given week, he was out for 3 weeks. So we're kind of building back up from that time point. All right. So he walked to his teacher yesterday, and then today, when we go, the whole car ride there, he's like, "Daddy, I'm gonna walk to," he said his teacher's name, "I'm gonna walk to my teacher again." And I'm like, "Buddy, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you. Can't wait to see it." And we do this the whole ride to school, initiated by him. I'm not pressing him. I'm not forcing the matter. He's bringing it up, and I'm encouraging him. So, and of course, we get to school, we get to the door, and he goes to walk in, and then he kind of just like falls apart and gets really sad, and I could tell in his eyes he's about to start crying. So he doesn't walk in. He's grabbing my arm, then he's grabbing my leg. So I'm like, "All right, buddy, I'll come in with you." And I walk him on over to his teacher, which is what I would normally do in a situation where it's not going well. Like he doesn't want me to leave. He doesn't want to go to school. I'll walk in with him holding his hand. I'll bring him over to his teacher. And today specifically, brought him over. She took his hand. He stood with her for a little bit, looked at me. I'm like, "All right, bud, have a great day." And I go to leave, and I'm at the door, and I'm shutting it, and he breaks free from the teacher, sprints over, screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy!" And and at this point, I'm like, I'm so close, but like, what should I do? I had a million thoughts going through my head, and I shut the door, and I felt terrible. I could hear him crying from down the hall. I'm literally going through these 2 big heavy doors to go outside, or into a little foyer area which leads to outside. I could still hear him crying, and it's terrible. It's hard. It's difficult. But I think if I had gone back, I would have just made the situation worse, and the pattern would have reset, and we would have just kept going on and on and on. So sure enough, when something like this happens, with the app the school uses, he's always having an absolute blast within 10 minutes, right? So we'll get a picture in 10 or 15 minutes after I leave, and he's playing with his friends and playing with blocks and Legos and throwing balls at each other. It's awesome. So I know he has a good time, right? But kind of the takeaway here is, if you're going through a tough time with daycare drop-off, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Once I would say they get to the phase where they're walking, ask your child when they're talking and they're ready to talk. Be like, "Hey, what do you like about when I drop you off in the morning? What don't you like about drop off?" And maybe they'll give you some insights. Maybe not. I wouldn't push the matter. But you can ask and talk about it. Like, open that dialogue to connect and talk about what really bothers them in the morning. And chances are it's just separation, and they want to come back home with you. They don't want to stay. They don't want their daddy to leave or their mommy to leave. But talk to them about it. If they're at an age where they're not talking yet, then make it a point. I know a lot of us are in a rush to get to work, right? Like, I think that's the universal, with a few exceptions. That's the point of daycare, is to bring your kids to school so we can go to work. Obviously, there's more to it. It's great for them socially. They get to learn. They do so much. We think we're very hands-on parents. They do so much at school that we would just never do at home, from arts and crafts to working in small groups with other kids, and just all this stuff. It's great. When you're going through a period like this, bring your kid into the room, spend a few extra minutes with them. If you know that they like a certain area of the classroom, whether that's toys, maybe like a little reading time, an area. I know my kids have a little reading section in their daycare. You can sit with them, get them comfortable. Or my go-to, and it wasn't really my go-to per se, but it was the only thing that would comfort my son, was to bring him to his teacher. So what I do is, again, as I mentioned, I did today and yesterday, was hold his hand, carry him. If some days we go over to the teacher and I talk to the teacher and him for a few minutes, and then I kind of hand him off. I try to do it where he's standing and holds her hand. Some days, really bad days, they'll take him from my arms and hold him for a few minutes. I don't. It's tough, and I don't think that's the most ideal, but that helps him get comfortable and acclimated, and he trusts them. And I think that's what allows for him to have a good day. Once the quicker he can settle down and start enjoying himself. So, hope that was helpful, kind of sharing what we've been through with daycare drop-offs. They're not perfect. Again, he's been going for 3 years on and off, but majority of the time there, just with breaks in between, and it's still not perfect. Confident we're really close to being where every morning I'll kind of open the door, give him a hug, and he'll walk right into his teacher. But until then, I'll be there and ask him questions, walk him in, make sure he's comfortable, and before I head out, and hopefully limit the closing the doors while he's running after me. I still feel terrible about that, but I think it was for the best at that time. But last thing I'll leave you with, I think the big trade-off here with tough drop-offs, the favorite part of my day is now pickup time, and when I go to pick him up, because the look on his face, both of their faces for this matter, is just priceless. They see me, they could be doing their most favorite thing at school, playing with throwing dinosaurs into a bucket or whatever they do, and he'll just stop with all of his friends, turn around and just sprint towards me, and I get the biggest hug every single day, and it's just amazing. I get it from both of them. So truly blessed to be able to have that experience. It's not the same experience in the morning, but it's worth it at the end of the day. So hope this was helpful. Hope you can relate. If you find yourself kind of on the other end of the spectrum there, where you don't have to go through any of these issues, that's amazing. Keep up the great work, and keep encouraging your kid to have a great day at daycare and school. And we'll see everyone in the next episode.